goodness.
First picture ever. But with a lot of the things that you learned about and kind of they presented on. So I brought this picture. It is actually literally the first picture that we ever took together.
It is.
It was about 2 weeks after we first met, give or take.
Yeah.
And my mom took this picture of us outside of our where we were living. She started out as a roommate.
Yeah, we were roommates.
Yes, and
It was adorable. His mom was like, "Let me get a picture," and I was like, "Your mom's gonna take a picture of us. Like, how should we pose? Like prom?"
like whatever.
Yeah, it was adorable. And
I know, and then
he let her get 2 pictures, and then he was like, "All right, that's enough."
done. I actually kind of look like angry
Because you were like done with that one. You were like, "All right, that's enough."
but now it's been 17-ish years later.
It has been. I think it's dated on the back here too.
I don't know, but the picture is
Printed at Costco.
it's seen better days.
Dude, you kept it though. That's so cute.
I did. I always keep it.
Aww.
Keep it close to my heart. That's where it
Aww.
got a little bit ripped up too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're having our vow renewal ceremony, celebrating 15 years of marriage coming up in about a month.
Yeah, and it feels like it's only been 100.
Only
That's
100, yeah. I know. Like every day is a new adventure.
Yes. So.
Okay. So, when you're not hanging out with me and you're on the phone talking to people and doing video chats and, what are you doing?
Okay, I'm helping people reach their own dreams we're basically dream dealers.
Okay.
And literally that's kind of the goal. I tell people, I don't really expect you to know much, to plan much, but show up with a dream and a passion, and then we'll help you kind of design the path of you getting there.
So anybody, any dream, anywhere.
A little bit more focused than anything, anywhere, because I'm a real bad ballerina.
Okay.
So I have not tried to teach anybody how to become a professional athlete. But if you're interested in like real estate or starting your own business, I've even helped people start nail salons over the years. But at the end of the day, it's you have a goal, and everybody's goal is, at the end of the day, kind of similar. Financial independence and enjoying life.
Okay. So it seems like what you're doing is more, on the grand scheme of things, business coaching. Would that be fair to say?
Yes and no. Because we don't need to, our role is we're attorneys.
Right.
We provide legal services. Now, I have so much experience in starting businesses, operating businesses, and kind of the path to get there, that it does always integrate some level of business coaching, consulting, but more than anything, primarily focus on investments and securities and finance. Because that's the one thing, besides death and taxes, that it costs money to make money, is always the case as well. And so our primary service is helping organize financing and investment opportunities, and how to present it and market it and bring in investors or financial partners to help the client kind of reach whatever their goals are.
Okay. So let's talk about the money part of it. Do people come to you and they have a specific amount of money that they already have, or are most of the people looking for people to invest more money? Where do you see the majority of people that come to you in that capacity?
Well, the majority of the people are in real estate. And that's just kind of the way that the business came together. But so there are people that have an idea to start acquiring apartment complexes, acquiring rental properties, acquiring or doing kind of construction and ground up builds. So people show up and they have a dream, and it kind of starts with, hey, do you know how to do it? Do you have the education or the experience? And then it's, okay, well, everybody's net worth is only so much. So we all get kind of capped at the amount of money in your own piggy bank. And so the next step becomes, well, I need to raise money from others, whether it's friends and family, or you could actually hire people to raise capital for you, or work with marketing agencies. And so that's kind of that next step. And well, the vast majority of people that are reaching out, they're reaching out because they're trying to do this, but they can't pay for it yet. And our job is to show them how to pay for it.
Okay, so the people that can't quite pay for it yet, what's the first thing that you tell them to do?
First thing I tell them to do is, well, get educated. It sounds funny, but there are amazing educational programs out there that teach real estate investing, teach how to work with investors. Because that really is, it's kind of a role unto itself. So that becomes step one. Then step two is, okay, you have the background from experience, from education, from mentorship. A lot of people will just partner with experienced people and kind of borrow and leverage their own knowledge to be able to do their own deal. Step two is, well, how are you going to find investors, or how are you going to make it all happen? Some people say, okay, I need to focus on the property first, and once I have a property, then I find the investors. That's absolutely true and terribly false.
Okay.
Because if you have the property, but you don't know what you're doing, by the time you're supposed to close, you don't have the money. So it's the cart and the horse issue, where if you know you're going to be doing a deal, or you're planning, you're taking steps towards it, know what you're going to be offering to investors. Know if your potential investors may have an appetite for it. They call it testing the waters. Kind of dangling the fishing lure out there and say, hey, are you interested? And that becomes a big step to it, and it does come down to what you're offering. But there's a lot of investment promoters and real estate promoters, and you can't just make up terms. You have to meet or beat the market. And if it's your earlier deal, well, you may have to give up a little bit more than the guy that's been in the business for 20 years. And so that's really, you need to know what you're going to do. That is a big part of what we help with, is helping people through the process from like, okay, I hope to accomplish this. I hope to buy some properties, but I'm not there yet. And part of what we do is coach those people through the process to make sure that when they're ready to buy that property, they have the investors, they know what they're doing, and they have the path planned out for them.
Okay, well, let's talk about investors. Where do I find investors? I want to find some people that have a lot of money that want to give me to help me make my dreams come true.
Yes and no. I love that you're an attorney. Maybe.
No.
It depends.
Well, it shouldn't depend. I want you to find me somebody to give me some money to make my dreams come true.
Okay, then I'll make it nice and easy. No. Not in this house.
No.
But no.
You're supposed to say, I'm right here, honey.
I'm here to make all your dreams come true.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you, dear. Okay. Now.
And that's how we stay married.
Yeah. It's marriage advice. Okay, so now we're talking about just the average dream person. The average person who has a dream that they
You're
want
the
to make.
person of my dreams.
Okay, yeah, now, we're past that part now. You
Oh, okay.
already flattered me and told me you were gonna
Have you seen this
make
picture?
all my dreams come true. Yeah, I've already bought the cow.
Time to milk it. No, when you're looking for investors, like there's different ways to go about it.
Okay,
And some of them allow you to work with all investors, even people that don't make a lot of money. They can still invest under certain strategies. I'll give you an example. They call it regulation crowdfunding. We're crowdfunding attorneys, so we help in these situations. And they're for smaller opportunities that you can only raise up to like $5 million, but you can accept money from anybody. Even people that, they call them unaccredited. Accredited means you're basically a millionaire or you make a lot of money.
okay,
And people below that line oftentimes can't participate in these investments. With the regulation crowdfunding, they're allowed to. The SEC caps it where it says you can only invest up to 5% of your rate of your net worth or income, but everybody can invest. And in those cases, actually, most of the regulation crowdfunding offerings may have a minimum investment of like $500 or $1,000. It's really low,
okay,
which kind of really differentiates it from, you know, if you're doing, they call it Regulation D, which is a different type of securities option that is way more focused on those accredited investors, the high net worth individuals. And usually with those, you will see minimum investment amounts of $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, just kind of based on, well, their experience level and their network. That's a big part of our coaching is like, you want to be able to present something to your prospective investors that is in line with what they expect and, you know, in line with the market, and the investors are qualified in making those types of investments. So it is really a planning and positioning process that you have to do before you say, this is exactly what we're going to do, where we're going to find our investors, and how we're going to do it.
okay, so what's to stop me from just going out and putting an ad on Craigslist? I don't think Craigslist is a thing anymore, but say I'm putting an ad on Craigslist and I'm saying, hey, I want to start my own nail salon, and anybody who wants to invest can invest. Here's the website.
Perfect. The only problem is jail.
Oh, jail. Why would I go to jail?
Yeah, well, for that, you probably wouldn't go to jail, but you would have some huge fines. You're violating the law, and there's consequences to it.
Why am I violating the law?
Getting back to, I mean, securities, investments, it's a highly regulated, very specialized field. And so any investments or any advertisements or emails or anything that's put out in the public is subject to, well, regulatory oversight, criticism, investigation, and then some. And there's certain ways, things that you have to include in investments, like risk factors. You can't be overly boisterous. Invest now, 25% per year, starting this year. Well, you can't say that without saying, and you may lose all of your money, and it may not work out at all. So there's a lot of rules that are behind that, and there's some types of securities regulations that don't even allow you to do that. You're not allowed to advertise at all. So that's where, you know, can you do it? Yes, but definitely should have the proper advice and kind of that backing and plan behind you. Otherwise, you're subject to have to give all the money back to the investors, have to pay fines to the state, and you may even get barred from ever raising capital from investors again.
Well, what if I don't have any money to give to the investors anymore because I spent it all on interior design for my nail salon? Would I get in trouble for that?
Of course. So the way that it works is if there is a court order, or often what happens is the regulators will have you sign a consent decree, or the threat of action. It's so expensive to be in litigation. They call it a right of rescission. And what that really means is you're telling your investors, hey, something's happened. There's been a change. And we're yanking you the offer to give you your money back. Oftentimes, if it's court ordered, there's interest on top of that. But if I can't pay you, well, it goes from the company that you're raising money for to yourself as an individual, generally kind of a piercing the corporate veil type situation, because most of the time, often when this happens, there's like this guarantee of control parties, the big owners, the management, that they can become personally liable to the investors for the investment that they owe them back but can't afford. And where it gets really ugly is you can't bankrupt out of it. So this is one of those situations that, if you can't pay them back, no problem. You're also never getting another loan from a bank or anywhere else. Your tax returns will be garnished until it's all paid back. You will most likely continue to have interest accruing on the amounts due, and you can't bankrupt out of it. So penalties can be pretty harsh.
Okay, so to avoid those types of liabilities, it's best to get with an attorney.
Oh, that's a smart one. She's so brilliant.
I know.
That's why I keep her around.
That's not why.
It's because you're a sweet, sweet
Yeah.
candy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, don't record that. Delete that out. So step one, in order to avoid these penalties, is hiring an attorney and also getting educated about what it is that you want to do.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to start with your dream, then know how to execute your dream, then making sure that you're doing it right and staying out of trouble. And that's really where the attorneys get to be important. From the investment side, from the capital side, making sure that you're doing things properly so you don't risk, because people do go to jail, but they're also the people that generally are really violating a law. And one of the biggest issues that happens where you raise capital for one company, but you've got this other deal or this other property that needs money, and, well, you got reserves, so you can just borrow from this company to send over to that company.
Oh, I know you're not supposed to do that.
A lot of people don't know that they're not supposed to do that. And oftentimes that's called securities fraud. And that is a big reason, well, a lot of people end up going to jail. I actually knew this guy. It was around 2011, 2012. He was doing real estate deals and doing that, like borrowing from one of his companies to cover the other, and just on and on. And then ultimately, one property failed. Then that had this domino effect of now he doesn't have money to pay back, so it causes issues at this next company, to this next, to the next, to the next. Ultimately, his entire portfolio crumbled. Of course, the investors start yelling and screaming. They don't just yell and scream through an attorney filing a class action to try to take everything you got. They yell and scream to the SEC or the other financial regulators that come in, and they'll start doing an audit, start tearing it apart. That particular gentleman was in jail for 7-8 years.
We should be, because a lot of times what the investors are risking is their hard-earned 401k money and what they intended to retire on. So now all of a sudden you've got someone who invested their whole life savings into a deal and someone defrauded them.
Yep.
And now they got to go back to work.
Yep. I mean, now it's been a long time, but like Bernie Madoff, like it's not just relegated to these smaller deals. Like, it's a risk across the board. So you're not safe just because you're like, oh, I'm working with this Wall Street, well-known, whatever. They defraud, fail, and pay massive, massive fines all the time too. So this isn't just, hey, I'm dealing with private securities. This is like problems and rules of life to make sure you're doing things right, doing your due diligence.